Should we all be terrified of artificial intelligence, or is it the best thing since sliced bread? In fact, is it going to be better than sliced bread? Microsoft has done extensive research on the topic, and they have a pretty positive outlook. Let's take a look. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I'm going to start with the tweet that alerted me to this whole thing, and you can see Elon Musk actually responded to it. Anyway, this is from Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft. This new generation of AI will remove the drudgery of work and unleash creativity, and today we're sharing our latest work trend index findings as we apply technology to help alleviate digital debt, build AI aptitude, and empower employees. As you can see, Elon responded, AI brings benefits, but also risks. And then I had to get my own 2 cents in here. It is a tool, a very, very, very fancy tool, but a tool nonetheless. Let's all try to develop and use it for good, not ill. So before we flip to the actual document, and of course I will leave a link to that in the description if you're interested, I think it's important to take a moment to think about the context of this. Number one, this is kind of a 10,000 meter or 35,000 foot view. In other words, we're looking down on this. Microsoft is giving us a general outlook of this whole thing. They're not getting super specific about anything. Number two, this is clearly for employees and actually really leaders of companies and such. And actually, as a leader of a very small company, I'm quite interested in it, of course, especially because we do AI work. But in general, it's good for me to be looking at how employees are going to be utilized the most effectively in both the near and the medium term. And of course, as an AI researcher and a very big AI advocate, I just find it a fascinating topic in general. The other thing that's really important to remember is that Microsoft is very much in bed with OpenAI, and so they have a pretty high degree of motivation to present a positive face on everything. You saw Elon Musk saying great risks, great rewards. There is, of course, that balance between the positive and negative aspects of artificial intelligence. And you can see Microsoft talking about this a little bit and kind of heading off some of the counter arguments like, hey, I'm going to lose my job and everything. Anyway, I just sort of want to present this before we get into this because, of course, it's important to know where people are coming from and who they're talking to as you read a document like this. And of course, if you're not interested in anything but Tesla topics, by all means, skip this video. I think it's really important and you should actually pay attention to this. But if you want to skip and move ahead to the next Tesla video, then just skip ahead and watch tomorrow's video. So you can see the angle Microsoft is taking from the very first page. 2023 Work Trend Index Annual Report. Will AI fix work? That's the question. The answer is the pace of work is outpacing our ability to keep up. AI is poised to create a whole new way of working. And I've gone through this and highlighted what I think are the most important sections so that I don't have to read the entire document, otherwise it would take forever. However, for the executive summary, I'm going to read the entire thing because I think that part is important. That's this first page here. The platform shift to AI is underway and will completely transform the way people work. And for many, the fix can't come soon enough. The pace of work has increased exponentially along with the crush of data, information, and always-on communications. And by the way, I think that even goes beyond work. I find it more and more overwhelming trying to just keep up with the amount of data and everything, the distraction and all of that kind of stuff that is constantly coming at me, not only in the business world, but also just in my personal world. So I don't know if your experience is different than that, but I think that this is a very important point, that we're all being crushed by data and communications overload. And the number one point that Microsoft is going to talk about is that very fact. But first, let's continue on here. People are struggling to shoulder the weight of it all, while business leaders feel pressure to increase productivity amid economic uncertainty. We spend more and more of our days separating the signal from the noise at the expense of creativity. And they really hone in on creativity. And I think that's interesting because one of the areas that people really talk about as a negative for AI is that it's going to take away human creativity. It's going to replace it. And you can see Microsoft hammering this point over and over again that no, we're going to be more creative because of AI. And of course, you can agree or disagree with them, but I just want to point that out as we continue reading this document. And the tax on individual productivity is compounding, undermining organizational productivity and global GDP. AI can help to lift the burden. Ding, ding. To date, AI has mostly been on autopilot, and notice how they talk about using it as a co-pilot, and OpenAI has a product called Copilot. So again, they're inserting these things into this document. Now, next generation co-pilots will work alongside people, freeing us from digital debt and fueling innovation. Organizations that embrace AI will unleash creativity and unlock productivity opportunity for everyone, ushering in a new wave of productivity growth and value creation. Quote, "This new generation of AI will remove the drudgery of work and unleash creativity," said Satya Nadella, chairman and CEO of Microsoft. "There's an enormous opportunity for AI-powered tools to help alleviate digital debt, build AI aptitude, and empower employees," end quote. And FYI, just a little aside here, I've done a lot of consulting for big companies over the years. These quotes are never by the actual people that say them. People just invent these quotes who are writing this stuff, and then they basically put it in the mouth of the CEO or some big muckety-muck from the company. So the odds that Satya Nadella actually said this are relatively small. More than likely, it was an underling that wrote this and then put the words in his mouth. But that's just a small aside from having done this stuff myself. To ready leaders and businesses for the age of AI, we surveyed 31,000 people in 31 countries, which is a pretty reasonable number, and analyzed trillions of Microsoft 365 productivity signals, along with labor trends from the LinkedIn economic graph. The data points to 3 urgent insights business leaders must know as they look to quickly and responsibly adopt AI. So, of course, we don't have direct information from like Google or Apple or Facebook or anything like that, but a survey of 31,000 people and trillions of interactions with Microsoft 365 products is a reasonable sample here. It's not complete by any means, but it does give us a pretty decent picture, and they are very careful to cite their sources and everything. So the positive spin is, on Microsoft's end of things, but the research data here should be reasonably valid. The rest of the report then goes into their 3 findings. Number 1, digital debt is costing us innovation. Number 2, there's a new AI employee alliance. And number 3, every employee needs AI aptitude. And I'm going to really hone in on that one because as an educator, I think that's a really, really important thing for us to keep in mind. So let's start with point number 1. Digital debt is costing us innovation. We're all carrying digital debt. The inflow of data, emails, meetings, and notifications has outpaced humans' ability to process it all. And that is really, really true. And the pace of work is only intensifying. Everything feels important, so we spend our work days trying to get out of the red. Nearly 2 in 3 people, or 64%, say they struggle with having the time and energy to do their job. And those people are 3.5 times more likely to also struggle with innovation and strategic thinking. And then skipping down to the other highlighted sentence, in a world where creativity is the new productivity, digital debt is more than an inconvenience, it's impacting businesses. And remember, of course, the target audience is leaders of business, so obviously they want to keep hammering that thing home. And I'll just pause on this for a moment, but it's just kind of a graphic that shows where you have communications are taking up 57% of workers' time, and creative work, in other words, they call this PowerPoint, Excel, OneNote, etc. I think there are other potentially even more creative types of tools out there, but whatever, that's part of the Office 365 thing. But anyway, creation is less than half of the workday. Over half of the workday is communication. And my wife is working at her job right now, and she spends almost all day on communication. She seems to be in meetings absolutely constantly for this sort of thing. So I'm sure she would agree that she would prefer to have more time to be able to do creative work. And then I added a little note here that said context switching is the modern devil. What do I mean by that? I mean that it's the kind of thing where you sit down to do some work, if it's writing something, if it's creating some 3D animation, if it's doing a graphic, whatever that thing is, and then all of a sudden you get a notification that you got a new email, or you get a notification that there's some Twitter stuff, or Elon said something on Twitter, or you get a message from a friend, or Discord pops up, or Slack pops up, or whatever it is. It's that constant sort of thing that's going on where it's just like, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. And every time you do that context switch, so let's say it's just something as simple as writing an email to somebody, you start off writing the email, some things pop up, you go and you do that other stuff, and by the time you get back, you have to sort of think your way back into that email. It really is the massive productivity drain. If there was a way of just doing all communication at one block and then all creativity at one block, people would be much, much more efficient than they are now. And I'm on a Mac laptop right now, and one of the best things that Apple has done in recent years is create the do not disturb thing. I've got it set up until evening right now so that I don't get any notifications until this evening. And it goes between my phone and my computer and my watch and all of that kind of stuff. It just shuts it off so I can actually focus on creating this video instead of having 20 different things pop up while I'm doing this video. Speaking of that, you can see the call out over there says 68% of people say they don't have enough uninterrupted focus time during the workday. So that's the real crucial thing, is the uninterrupted focus time. It's that always going like this constantly and always having to look at the next thing. You feel like an ADD dog or something. It's like every time there's a squirrel, you're like, squirrel, squirrel, that kind of a thing. So it's like trying to keep that focus and maintain your creativity for a period of time is very challenging right now. Anyway, reading the highlighted portions here, hours worked, workday span, and time spent in meetings have steadily increased over the past few years, and the pandemic has certainly had something to do with that. That's my insertion. Microsoft talks about February of 2020, so they don't mention the pandemic specifically, but they definitely do mean that, because of course February 2020 happened to be the moment where everything switched around. It's clear that a lack of focus time, the search for information, and the volume of constant communications have an opportunity cost. 68% of people say they don't have enough uninterrupted focus time during the workday, and 62% of survey respondents say they struggle with too much time spent searching for information in their workday. And then there's some statistics about how many hours a day people spend doing communication and other types of things. And for knowledge workers who rely even more on digital communication, the share of the week taken up by emails and meetings is even greater. AI can tip the balance in people's favor to reclaim time and energy for the important work that fuels innovation. So we've got data here, but we're starting to get conclusions from Microsoft, which is that AI will help this. And that, of course, is where you have to use your critical brain. Do you agree with this or not? I tend to agree that it is going to be very helpful, but you shouldn't agree with me by default. You should think about this yourself. Another interesting graphic here, inefficient meetings is the #1 productivity disruptor. So it's not just meetings, it's inefficient meetings. So maybe it's one with 20 people. I have a hard and fast rule that 6 people should be the maximum number of people in a meeting where you expect to accomplish something. If you're just telling people about whatever the latest developments are or something, then more than 6 is fine. But 6 seems to be about the limit, maybe 7. You could stretch it to maybe 8. But once you get past that, it's just useless. So that creates an inefficient meeting. If you don't have solid goals, if you don't know what you're doing, that's also the kind of thing that leads to an inefficient meeting. And so you can see number 2, 3, 4, 5 are lacking clear goals, having too many meetings, feeling uninspired, and not easily finding the information I need. So the top 3 inefficiencies here, or obstacles to productivity, are meetings, goals, and meetings. So what can we do about all of this stuff? And on the left, notice it says, since February 2020, people are in 3 times more Teams meetings and calls per week, up 192%. And that's where I'm saying they say February of 2020, but of course we all know what they mean. And then Microsoft has some suggestions for us. Identify and address your organization's productivity disruptors with insights from employee listening. Radically rethink the workday, that's rather interesting. As AI frees up time and energy, protect focus time for the creative work that leads to innovation. And I can't agree with this more. I think that protecting focus time is a huge thing, and it's something that's becoming lost in just, again, the general world. It's not just work, but it's that TikTok mentality. It's always looking over here at 20 or 30 seconds, and you think it's not that much of a time disruptor, but all those little tiny things have a gigantic debt that they pull because it's hard for you to get back into the stuff you were doing before. And again, I know that Elon Musk agrees with this because he always talks about that thing where he's like, I just need 5 minutes of your time, as the bane of his existence, because all those 5 minutes adds up and suddenly the day is gone. And finally, this is an interesting one. Think of meetings as a digital artifact and not just a point in time. In other words, they don't just happen and they're gone. They're actually an artifact that you can go back and explore and mine. Encourage people to leverage AI-powered intelligent meeting recaps, transcripts, and recordings to engage with meetings how and when works best for them. And I think buried in this recommendation is, if you don't need to be in the meeting, but you just need to get the results of it, you could probably get a summary of it later and avoid that meeting. So that would be something that I would add to their conclusion to be very explicit. All right, Microsoft's point number 2, there is a new AI employee alliance. Amid concerns of AI replacing jobs, the data revealed an unexpected insight. Employees are more eager for AI to lift the weight of work than they are afraid of job loss to AI. While 49% of people say they're worried AI will replace their jobs, even more, 70%, would delegate as much work as possible to AI to lessen their workloads. And I too was a little bit shocked at this result, but I think it's actually really, really cool and a very positive spin on things. I certainly know that I would love it if AI could become more and more efficient at helping me do the stuff that's not super creative, but is critical to allow me to get as much work done. That's the kind of thing that would be fantastic, and I would really appreciate that. Moving on, not only did 3 in 4 people tell us they would be comfortable using AI for administrative tasks, but most people also said they would be comfortable using it for analytical and even creative work. People are also looking for AI to assist with finding the right information and answers they need, 86%, summarizing their meetings and action items, 80%, and planning their day, 77%. People also believe it, or AI, can enhance creativity from formulating ideas for their work, 76%, to editing their work, 75%. And interestingly enough, the more people understand AI, the more they see its promise to help with the most meaningful parts of their jobs. For example, 87% of workers in creative roles who are extremely familiar with AI said they'd be comfortable using AI for creative aspects of their job. And I suppose I count myself in that latter group, and I am very, very happy to use AI to help me in my creative work. Not only as a user, of course, but also as the co-founder of Automatic.io that makes tools like this. They then put a really cool graph together that shows that leaders are 2 times more likely to choose increase employee productivity than reducing headcount when asked what they would most value about AI. So notice that increasing employee productivity is the #1 thing that they have at 31%, while reducing headcount is 16%, or about half of that number. So some people are interested in gaining efficiency through reducing headcount, but many, many more are interested in increasing employee productivity to get more out of those people doing their job already. And you can see the call out on the next page from Adam Grant, who is the author of this report and an organizational psychology professor. Quote, "It's fascinating that people are more excited about AI rescuing them from burnout than they are worried about it eliminating their jobs." And here are some other things leaders were interested in from AI. After increasing productivity, leaders' top hopes for AI are to help employees with necessary but repetitive tasks, hint, hint, increase employee well-being, eliminate employee time spent on low-value activities, enhance employees' capabilities, and accelerate employees' pace of work. And then the survey asked respondents what they envisioned 2030 would be like. When asked what changes they value most, people imagined producing high-quality work in half the time, being able to understand the most valuable ways to spend their time and energy, and never having to mentally absorb unnecessary or irrelevant information again. And of course, Microsoft tags this by saying, "And with AI poised to remake work, the future will arrive in months, not years." A few key takeaways here. Bring leaders together across the organization to create guardrails that help people experiment safely and responsibly with AI. Be intentional and programmatic. Like any platform shift, adopting AI at scale requires change management. Pick specific disciplines, processes, and workflows, test them and learn, and identify evangelists to lead the change. And finally, as you begin to adopt AI, deploy it where people need the most relief based on your organization's pain points and challenges. And then we get to something near and dear to my heart as a professor. Every employee needs AI aptitude. You can see I basically highlighted this entire thing, so I'll read the whole thing. The paradigm shift to AI as co-pilot requires a whole new way of working and a new AI aptitude. Working alongside AI using natural language will be as inherent to how we work as the internet and PC. Skills like critical thinking and analytical judgment, complex problem solving, and creativity and originality are new core competencies, and not just for technical roles or AI experts. Leaders we surveyed said it's essential that employees learn when to leverage AI, how to write great prompts, how to evaluate creative work, and how to check for bias. As AI reshapes work, human-AI collaboration will be the next transformational work pattern, and the ability to work iteratively with AI will be a key skill for every employee. And then, learning isn't keeping up with the pace of work. Already, 60% of people say they don't currently have the right capabilities to get their work done. AI will open new paths for learning. And then you can see the note I added, which is that high schools and universities should be on this yesterday. And you can see from this graphic that analytical judgment, flexibility, and emotional intelligence top the list of skills leaders believe will be essential for employees in an AI-powered future. Not so sure about emotional intelligence, but then again, I'm on the spectrum, so that's never been a high point for me. So I guess I'll take it from the survey results, but I've always been like, nah, that's not important at all. But I think a lot of people actually do think it is. And then the summary page says 82% of leaders say their employees will need new skills to be prepared for the growth of AI. And a couple of other things, there are 33 times as many LinkedIn posts mentioning topics like generative AI and GPT than there were 1 year ago. So that's radical, huge growth, obviously. And as of March 2023, the share of US job postings on LinkedIn mentioning GPT are already up 79% year over year. So for taking action, obviously build AI aptitude, help people learn, crowdsource best practices from employees as they adapt to AI as co-pilot, and consider how roles and functions can evolve alongside AI, creating opportunities for reinvention. So of course that's learning and flexibility. And finally, the summary page, the path forward. AI is poised to lift the weight of work and has great potential to free people from digital debt and fuel innovation. And for both overwhelmed employees and leaders looking to bolster productivity, that promise is overdue. But AI won't simply fix work, it will create a whole new way of working. Leaders will need to help employees learn to work responsibly alongside AI to reap the rewards of the AI Employee Alliance, more value creation for businesses, and a brighter, more fulfilling future of work for everyone. So, of course, as I noted, you can see the positivist spin that Microsoft is putting on all this stuff, but I think the research is really important. And of course, to anybody in AI training or businesses that are developing AI or have employees who might need to learn that, training. It's going to be very important for people to learn how to work with AI. This is a tool that's not going away. It's not going to disappear. You can't stick your head in the sand and say, no, I'm not going to pay attention to this because it's not coming. It is coming. It's on its way. It's already here, basically. And so the big takeaway from this is you as an employee or a business owner or just a normal human in the world need to take account of AI and try to adapt your personal and professional life to get the most out of AI and to be as productive as possible. And the other key takeaway is protect your focus time. That's the thing that's most critical these days. So don't just be doing everything all over the place all the time. Learn how to use Do Not Disturb. Learn how to actually turn off things if you possibly can. Go out in the world and just enjoy nature for a few minutes. That is a really, really critical thing, at least for me, to take away from this as well. Everybody needs to be able to focus, breathe, and not panic. Just calm down, everyone. That's the way things are going to work the best. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it fun and interesting and thought-provoking. I would definitely like to know what all of you think about this in the comments because, of course, we're all living on the earth and many of us are employees of companies and some of us even own companies. So I'd love to know from those different perspectives what you think about Microsoft's research and their take on all of this. And of course, while you're there, please do like the video so other people can find it. And of course, consider subscribing for more of this kind of content. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon and my YouTube channel members. Thank you all so much for your support. You truly do make this all possible. And of course, if you want to join the team, just check out the link in the description. And if you're interested in a whole bunch of really cool merch, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. We have TeslaBot t-shirts, the Tesla meme t-shirt, Success is a Possible Outcome, 4680 battery cells. All of that stuff is on t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, and on and on. So check it out. And finally, don't forget we are both Tesla and Amazon affiliates. If you look in the description, you can see how going shopping for a solar roof, a power wall, or anything on Amazon helps out the channel. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.